जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम। कैन यू पीपल हियर मी?
यस।
अभी सिर्फ 3 लोगों ने ज्वाइन किया है। क्या इस वक्त कोई क्लास तो नहीं है और कोई हो रही? पांच मिनट देख लें और बच्चे ज्वाइन कर लें। अभी 7 मिनट हो गए।
सर आई थिंक आपको मैसेज करना चाहिए that the previous link that you have sent is the same link for this class.
आप मैसेज कर दो जरा बेटा प्लीज।
ठीक है।
हो सकता है लिंक के लिए मसला हो रहा हो कुछ। जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम बेटा। कैन यू हियर मी नाउ क्लियरली?
Yes, sir.
ग्रेट। सो our topic today is this new chapter. We are starting this new chapter, biological molecules. In this chapter, we have to discuss the food test. This is topic number 1, testing for biological molecules. And then we have carbohydrates and lipids in our syllabus. And we have 2 more molecules, proteins and water. Okay. This is comparatively a challenging topic It has a lot of formulas and chemical reactions in it. It is not that conventional the biology that we do in transport in plants and transport in human, and the cell structure and the cell membrane. It has a lot of biochemistry, though we do not need to know the biochemical aspects of these structures and these molecules. Okay, so we will only see at their importance in the biological systems and their structure, how the structure is important as the biological molecules. The chemical details of these molecules are not needed. Okay, so let's see biological molecules. We can define biological molecules. Biological molecules. We can define biological molecules as substances found in living organisms. Substances found in living organisms. Okay. Substances found in living organisms are known as biological molecules. We can divide them into 4 categories that are in our syllabus. Number 1, carbohydrates. We have fats, proteins, and water. In this chapter, we will discuss these 4 biological molecules. Okay. But in another chapter, we will discuss nucleic acid, which consists of DNA and RNA. So we'll discuss this in another chapter, which is nucleic acid and protein synthesis. Okay. In this chapter, we'll discuss these biological molecules one by one. So let's see carbohydrates first. Carbohydrates. Can somebody tell me what does carbohydrate mean? You have done that in your O levels.
Sugars are called carbohydrates.
Yes. Starch is a carbohydrate. Glycogen is a carbohydrate. Okay. So carbohydrates are compounds of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. If you remember the formula for glucose, for example, you might remember it is C6
C6H12O6
and O6. Do you see? So it has carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. But if you look at this, hydrogen and oxygen in this molecule, and we simplify it, so this would be, H2O. If I write another formula, for example, formula for sucrose, which is C12, H22, and O11. And if I simplify it, do you see this again makes an H2O? So how do we define then carbohydrates? Compounds of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, in which hydrogen to oxygen ratio is the same as that of H2O. Got it? So hydrogen to oxygen ratio is the same as that of H2O. For example, we have C3 H6O3A. Is this a carbohydrate? Yes. Why this is a carbohydrate? Because it has hydrogen to oxygen ratio the same as that of H2O. If we simplify it, this would have, 2 and 1. Let's see if it is C7H14 and O7. Is this a carbohydrate? Yes. But let's see if it is C17H34 and O2. Is this a carbohydrate? No, not a carbohydrate. Why?
Ratio of water is not to ratio 1.
Yes, hydrogen to oxygen ratio is not the same as that of H2O. If we simplify it, this would not make H2O. Okay. So hydrogen to oxygen ratio is not as that of water. So this is not a carbohydrate. So this is how we can identify carbohydrates. There are 3 types of carbohydrates. Types of carbohydrates. We have number 1, monosaccharides. Okay. We have disaccharides, and we have polysaccharides. So these are 3 types of carbohydrates. We'll discuss them one by one. So let's see monosaccharides first. Monosaccharides. Mono stands for one or a single. Okay. And the saccharide, that stands for a sugar unit. So carbohydrates which consist of single sugar unit. Okay. They have only one unit, single sugar unit. मतलब ये है कि cannot be broken down to further simple sugars. They are already simple sugars. They cannot be further broken down to simple sugars. These are known as simple sugars. So these are monosaccharides. They are sweet in taste and they are water soluble. These are monosaccharides. Let's see, monosaccharides are further divided into different classes or different types. You can say classes of monosaccharides. Okay. Or you can say types of monosaccharides. Monosaccharides are classified or divided on the basis of number of carbon found in them. They can have 3 carbon. They can have 4 carbon. They can have 5 carbon. They can have 6 carbon. And they can have 7 carbon. Okay. If they have 3 carbon, they are known as trioses. If they have 4 carbon, they are known as tetroses. If they are 5 carbon, they are known as pentoses. If they are 6 carbon, they are known as hexoses. If there are 7 carbon, they are known as heptoses. So you know, tri stands for 3. Okay, tri stands for 3. Tetra stands for 4. Penta stands for 5. Hexa stands for 6. And hepta stands for 7. And we add OSES at the end for sugar. ये जो suffix है, this suffix is, इसे कहते हैं suffix for sugar और for carbohydrate. किसी भी नंबर के साथ किसी भी सब्सटेंस के एंड के ऊपर अगर OSE आए तो that means it is a sugar. जैसे हेक्सोसिस की जो एग्जांपल्स हैं, हेक्सोसिस का मतलब they have 6 carbon in them. Are you people there?
Yes, sir.
Great. Hexoses mean they have 6 carbon. So this is C6, H12, and O6. So this is general formula for hexoses. Pentoses के लिए क्या formula होगा? Pentoses के लिए होगा C5, H10, and O5. Similarly, for tetroses, it will be C4, H8, and O4. Examples of hexoses include glucose and fructose. Okay, so glucose and fructose are examples of hexose sugars or 6 carbon sugars. So let's see structure of glucose first. As you already know, it has 6 carbon present in it. So we can make 6 carbon showing, carbon number 1, carbon number 2, carbon number 3, carbon number 4, carbon number 5, and carbon number 6. So these are 6 carbon. You can number them as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Each carbon should have 4 bonds made with the other atoms. Okay, so every carbon has 4 bonds with the other atoms. This carbon number 6 has a bond with hydroxyl group here. You can write hydroxyl group here. OH group is known as a hydroxyl group. This is known as hydroxyl group. And there are hydroxyl groups with every carbon on right side except carbon number 3. Okay, and carbon number 1. Carbon number 3 has an OH group on left side, and the rest of all, they should have hydrogen to complete its valency, which is 4. But carbon number 1 has double bonded oxygen with it, and it has a hydrogen attached with it. So this is linear structure of glucose. Linear structure or straight chain formula. Is that okay?
Sir, is there a specific reason why the hydroxyl group that is bonded with carbon 3 is on the left side, not on the right side, like the other carbon atoms?
Yeah. The position of these OH groups will change the name of this molecule. If this has, OH group on carbon number 3 on the left side, then only this will be glucose. Okay, let me show you. So we do not have these all in our syllabus. It is just to have an idea. Okay. So let's see if there are all hydroxyl groups on the right side and there is no hydroxyl group on. See, this is carbon number 1. This is carbon number 2. This is carbon number 3. This is carbon number 4. This is carbon number 5. And this is carbon number 6. So do you see all these hydroxyl groups on right side? If all of them are right side, then the name will be allos. You got it?
Yes.
If an OH group on carbon number 2, this is 2, is on left side and the rest of all are on the right side, then it is an aldose. If carbon number 3 has an OH group on left side and the rest are all on the right side, then it is glucose. But if hydroxyl groups on carbon number 2 and carbon number 3 are on left side and the rest of them on the right side, then it is another molecule which is mannose. Acha. If on carbon number 4 there is hydroxyl group on left side and the rest of the other hydroxyl groups on the right side, the name will be what? Gulose. And if there is hydroxyl group on carbon number 2 and on carbon number 4 on the left side, then it is idose. You might have heard about galactose. Galactose will have hydroxyl groups on carbon number 3 and carbon number 4 on the left side and the rest of them on the right side. So that would be galactose. If there are 3 hydroxyl groups on the left side and these 2 on the right side, then it is tallose. if there are, all of them on the right side, but this is the double bonded oxygen here, then it is psychose. If the third one is on left side and there is double bonded oxygen with the carbon number 2, then it is fructose. So we have this in our syllabus, this fructose. We have this fructose.
मुझे नहीं पता मम्मा का ईमेल सेव्ड है तूने
And we have this glucose.
मेरे पास तो नहीं है ये मेरे नहीं मम्मा के मीशा के मेरी दोस्त के मेरे
माइक बंद कर लो भाई. वरना ये ना हो हमें सारी लड़ाई सुननी पड़ जाए. अच्छा जी. So this is sorbose. Okay. So do you see this has hydroxyl group on this carbon number 3 on this side, and we have what is difference by the way in fructose and sorbose? I don't see any difference. Does anyone see the difference here?
No.
हाँ ये मेरा ख्याल ये गलत लिखा हुआ है. So there is difference in ये fructose का तो सही है, पर ये sorbose का जो है वो गलत लिखा हुआ है. और tagatose is. So do you see these are all hexoses and these are isomers of. Okay, these are isomers of glucose, and these are different types of the monosaccharides. We have only these two in our syllabus. एक ये glucose है और दूसरा ये fructose है. The rest of others are not included in our syllabus, so we don't need to know them. I just showed to you so that you understand that this position of these hydroxyl group is specific and you cannot change it. That should remain as such. Is it okay? Now let's see ring structure of glucose or types of glucose. There are two types of glucose. One is known as an alpha glucose, alpha glucose, and the other is beta glucose. Is it okay? So there are two types of glucose, alpha glucose and beta glucose. Let's see structure of an alpha glucose, and we will draw ring structure. Ring structure of glucose. ये ऐसे ही हमें याद रखना होगा. It has hexagonal ring. Hexagonal mean it has 6 corners. You should make this, 6 carbon. So these are this is hexagonal. Okay. This is hexagonal ring. It has, 6 sides, so that is why it is called hexagonal ring. and this has oxygen at this position. यहाँ पे oxygen होगी, and here you will have carbon number 1. Here it is carbon number 2. Here you have carbon number 3. You have carbon number 4, and this is carbon number 5. There is another carbon which is out of the ring, and this is called carbon number 6. Can you draw this? Are you people there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there are hydroxyl groups and there are hydrogen attached with it. Okay. So hydroxyl groups, carbon number 2 has hydroxyl group here. Carbon number 3 has an OH group opposite to that. So this has an OH group here. Carbon number 4 has an OH group here. It has hydrogen here. Carbon number 5 has hydrogen only. Carbon number 3 has hydrogen here. And carbon number 6 has an OH group here. And it has 2 hydrogen here. And then we have carbon number 1 left here. Okay. So there is difference in carbon number 1 in both alpha glucose and beta glucose. Otherwise, there is no difference in the rest of the other places. If I can copy it, this is copied. Okay. So let's see, I'll paste that here. Okay. So what is difference in alpha glucose and beta glucose? Do you see both of them are similar at position number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But there is difference in position of hydroxyl group on carbon number 1. It has an OH group here, and this has an OH group here. This is below the plane of the ring in alpha glucose, and this is above the plane of the ring. And the other is, a hydrogen here and hydrogen here. Hope you have understood it. So let's come to the structure of fructose later. See if you can do this question and identify what we have discussed here. So this is the question here. Can you do this question number 1? Which diagram represents a molecule of an alpha glucose? And tell me the reason as well. Are you people there? No one is willing to answer.
Sir, is it A?
Why not this B? Yes, A is correct.
As the second carbon atom का OH should be down, not up.
Yes, this carbon number 2 has OH down instead of here. So this is wrong. What is problem in carbon number, this option number C?
Because
The
the
first carbon atom, yes.
carbon number 1 for OH group is correct.
Yes, this OH group on number 1 is above the plane. So that's beta glucose actually. This is beta glucose, not an alpha glucose. And what is wrong in D?
The positioning of OH on carbon number 4, it should be
Yes.
down, not up.
Yes, this should be carbon number 4. That should be down here. Okay. So that's how these three are not the correct choices. So A is a correct choice. So let's see this, which row about alpha glucose and beta glucose molecules are correct. We haven't discussed this cellulose contains which molecule. So beta glucose is found in cellulose, and alpha is found in starch, glycogen, etc. So what should be the correct choice in this case? कार्बन एटम ऑन विच द OH पोजीशन इज डिफरेंट. कौन से कार्बन नंबर के ऊपर पोजीशन डिफरेंट होती है? 1 के ऊपर, 4 के ऊपर?
1 paper.
Yes, 1. And cellulose contains both molecules? No, cellulose contains beta glucose only. So this
A
is,
answer.
so A is a correct choice in this case. And if you look at this, the diagram shows 4 monosaccharides with the formula C6, H12 and O6. Which diagram shows beta glucose?
Should it be B?
Let's see one by one. So this carbon number 1 has an OH below. So this could be alpha glucose. So this is not possible. This has carbon number 1 OH above. 2 is okay. 3 is okay. 4 is okay. 5 has hydrogen. 6, yes, B is a correct choice. But what's wrong in C? C में चूंकि beta glucose, carbon 1 has an OH group, below, that is not correct. This is not correct. And then carbon number 3 also has an OH group here, which is also not correct. It should have been inside it. So C is not correct. What is wrong with D? This first position is correct. C1, second position, C2. This is wrong. It should have been outside, and 3 is okay, 4 is okay, 5 is okay, 6 is okay. Only there is a wrong position of hydroxyl group on carbon number 2. So that's why D, C and A are not possible. So B is a correct choice. Okay. You may be asked to draw these structures, or you may be asked to identify these structures. आप ज़ाहिर है MCQs में तो आइडेंटिफाई करने के लिए आएंगे, लेकिन पेपर 2 में ड्रॉ करने के लिए भी आ सकते हैं. Okay. So that's about alpha and beta glucose. Now let's see structure of fructose. Okay. Structure of fructose. Right. So let's see. Structure of Fructose, you know, is also a monosaccharide. And it is found in fruits and is a component of sucrose as well. Okay. So this is hexose sugar. और इसका जो formula है C6H12O6. And if we look at its structural formula, linear structure, then you should draw 6 carbon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And you can number them 1, 2, 3, 4.
सर एक मिनट तो ऊपर स्क्रॉल करेंगे.
जी. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Now let's see, these are 6 carbon. Similarly, as we discussed in glucose, there is an OH group on right side. There is an OH group on right side. There is an OH group on right side. But carbon number 3 has an OH group on left side. And this has hydrogen here. The rest of the others have hydrogen, 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 and hydrogen here. Okay. Carbon number 2 has OH group here as no. Carbon number 2 has, we are talking about fructose, it has double bonded oxygen here. And carbon number 1 has an OH here, an H here, and an H here. Or if we compare it with, you know, glucose. So let's see what is difference in so let's see what is difference in glucose so this is glucose and this is fructose. Can somebody tell me what is difference in glucose and fructose? This double bonded, a carbon which has a double bonded oxygen with it, this carbon is known as, this is known as carbonyl carbon. So this is carbonyl carbon. Okay. So do you see the carbonyl carbon in fructose is second carbon, whereas the carbonyl carbon in glucose is the first carbon. Or you can simply say that glucose has double bonded oxygen with the first carbon and fructose has double bonded oxygen with second carbon. Okay. And in fructose, the first carbon has an OH group attached with it. And in this case, the first carbon has double bonded oxygen attached with it, whereas the carbon number 2 has an OH group attached with it. So there are two differences in the linear structure. This is called straight chain formula, or this is called linear structure of glucose and fructose. Okay. Now let's see ring structure of structure of fructose. Fructose has pentagonal structure. Fructose has pentagonal ring. What does it mean, pentagonal? Pentagonal का मतलब ये है कि it has 5 sides of this ring or 5 corners, and we can draw this way. Okay. So these are 5 corners, 5 sides. So that is why it is pentagonal. This position has an oxygen here, and this position has carbon number 2 here. This position has carbon number 3 here. This has carbon number 4 here. This has carbon number 5 here. So the ring has 4 carbon in it. Carbon number 2, carbon number 3, carbon number 4, carbon number 5, and carbon number 1 and carbon number 6 are out of this ring. And for all these carbon, you can write the functional groups with them, hydroxyl groups with them. This is hydroxyl group here. This has hydrogen here, hydrogen here. This has an OH group here. This has an OH group here, hydrogen here. This has an OH group here. This has hydrogen here. This has hydrogen here. This is an OH group here, hydrogen here, and hydrogen here. So this is ring structure of fructose. Is it okay? But if we compare it with an alpha glucose, let's see if this is, for example, an alpha glucose, and we compare it with, fructose. So this is an alpha glucose and this fructose. Can you tell me what are differences in between fructose and alpha glucose? Fructose is pentagonal and glucose is hexagonal. Okay. So in fructose, carbon 1 and carbon in fructose, carbon number 2 and carbon number 5 are linked together through oxygen, whereas in glucose, carbon 1 and carbon 5 are linked together through oxygen. So there are 4 carbon in the ring and 2 carbon out of the ring. And in this case, there are 5 carbon in the ring and 1 carbon out of the ring. और वो कौन सी है? इसमें कार्बन नंबर 6 is out of the ring, और इसमें carbon number 1 and carbon number 6 both are out of the ring. Hope you have understood it. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Great. So that's it for now. Let me take your attendance. Wait for a minute. So that's all for today. I have recorded it, and I'll share recording link with you people. So you will have access to this lecture. Right? Thank you very much. I'm ending it now.
Allah Hafiz, sir.
Allah Hafiz, beta.